I was dying, and nobody knew it except the woman who was trying to kill me. My name is Marcus DeLuca, and I built an empire from nothing. Shipping, real estate, investments that moved millions before breakfast. At 41, I owned half of Miami's waterfront and had politicians on speed dial. But lying in this private hospital room with monitors beeping around me, none of that mattered. The pneumonia had hit me hard 3 days ago. My lungs felt like they were filled with concrete. My fiancée, Victoria Ashford, sat beside my bed in a white Chanel suit, scrolling through her phone. She looked perfect as always. Blonde hair pulled back, diamond earrings catching the fluorescent light. "How are you feeling, darling?" she asked without looking up. I tried to answer, but started coughing instead. Blood speckled the tissue I held to my mouth. Victoria wrinkled her nose slightly before composing her face back into concern. That's when Nurse Riley walked in. Riley Carter wasn't supposed to be my nurse. The regular one had called in sick. Riley was covering the shift, looking exhausted in her faded scrubs. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy ponytail, and she had coffee stains on her sleeve. She was maybe 30, with tired brown eyes that actually looked at you when she spoke. "Good evening, Mr. DeLuca," she said, checking my chart. "I'm Riley. I'll be taking care of you tonight." Victoria barely glanced at her. That was Victoria's way. She didn't see people beneath her tax bracket. "He needs his 8 o'clock medication," Victoria said, her voice sharp. Riley nodded and pulled out the medication tray. I watched her hands shake slightly as she prepared the doses. She looked nervous, probably intimidated by the private wing, the security outside my door, the obvious money in the room. Then she did something that changed everything. She paused, staring at one of the syringes. Her eyebrows pulled together, confused. "Is there a problem?" Victoria's voice could cut glass when she wanted it to. Riley picked up the syringe, holding it to the light. "This doesn't match the chart," she said slowly. "The dosage is different. That was adjusted this afternoon," Victoria said smoothly. Too smoothly. Dr. Hammond changed the prescription. "Didn't you read the updated orders?" Riley pulled out her tablet, scrolling through the digital records. Her frown deepened. "I don't see any update from Dr. Hammond here. The last note is from this morning." Victoria stood up, her heels clicking on the linoleum. "Are you questioning my fiance's doctor? Perhaps you should stick to checking bedpans instead of playing detective." I'd heard Victoria use that tone before, usually when firing housekeepers. But Riley didn't flinch. She set down the syringe and walked to the room phone. "I need to verify this with the pharmacy before administering," she said. "Hospital policy." Victoria's jaw tightened. "You're wasting time." "He's in pain?" Riley ignored her and dialed. While she waited on hold, Victoria moved closer to me, her perfume overwhelming. "Marcus, darling, can't you tell her to just give you the medication?" This is ridiculous, but something in Riley's face had caught my attention. The way her eyes kept flicking to that syringe. The way her hand gripped the phone tighter. "Pharmacy. This is Riley Carter on the executive wing," she said into the phone. "I need to confirm a medication change for patient DeLuca, Marcus. Room 412. She listened, her expression hardening. "No change was ordered?" "You're sure? Can you send up the correct dosage immediately?" She hung up and turned to Victoria. "There's been no medication change. This syringe contains 10 times the normal dose of anticoagulant. If I'd given this to Mr. DeLuca, he would have bled out internally within hours." The room went silent except for the beeping monitors. I stared at the syringe, my brain trying to process what I'd just heard. Victoria laughed. It was a light, tinkling sound she used at charity galas. How dramatic. Obviously someone in the pharmacy made an error. "You should be thanking me for catching it this afternoon when Dr. Hammond and I discussed increasing the dosage." "Dr. Hammond is off today," Riley said quietly. "He's at a conference in Boston." I checked. The temperature in the room dropped. Victoria's smile stayed perfectly in place, but her eyes went cold. "Are you accusing me of something, nurse?" "I'm saying this medication would have killed him," Riley replied. "And I'm required to report this to hospital administration and the police." That's when I saw it. Just a flicker across Victoria's face. Not shock. Not horror. Calculation. She was thinking through her next move. I'd seen that look before when she negotiated business deals with my competitors. My chest felt tight, and it wasn't from the pneumonia anymore. "Riley, I managed to croak out. "Don't leave this room." Riley looked at me, understanding passing between us without words. She nodded and moved to stand between the door and Victoria. "I think you should sit down, Ms. Ashford," Riley said. "Until security gets here." Victoria's mask slipped for just a second. Rage flashed across her perfect features before she controlled it. "This is insane. Marcus, tell her. This is some kind of mistake, but I was remembering things. Small things I dismissed. Victoria insisting on bringing me to this particular hospital instead of the better one across town. Victoria being alone with my medication tray multiple times. Victoria meeting privately with Dr. Hammond, who I'd never actually chosen as my doctor. She had recommended him. The engagement had happened so fast. 6 months ago at a charity auction, Victoria had been dazzling. Beautiful, sophisticated, from one of Miami's oldest families. Or so she'd said. I'd never actually verified it. I'd been too flattered that she wanted me, the boy from the wrong side of town who'd clawed his way up. How long? I asked Victoria. My voice was rough, but I needed to know. How long have you been planning to kill me? She didn't answer at first. Then slowly, deliberately, she sat back down in the chair. The pretense fell away completely. The woman looking at me now was a stranger. "Since the day I met you," she said calmly. "Well, since I researched you. Did you know you have a very predictable pattern, Marcus? You attend the Children's Hospital charity auction every year. You always bid on the same artist. You always drink scotch, neat. You're always alone because you don't trust anyone long enough to keep them close." Riley had pulled out her phone, likely calling security, but I couldn't look away from Victoria. "The pneumonia?" I asked. "You gave me the pneumonia." Victoria examined her manicure. "Bacteria in your protein powder. The same one you drink every morning. Very easy to contaminate. You're so health conscious, it was almost too simple. Why?" The word came out as barely a whisper. Victoria smiled, and it was the coldest thing I'd ever seen. "Money, obviously. We're engaged, Marcus. I'm in your will. When you die, I get 40% of your estate. That's $300 million. More than enough to disappear and start over somewhere beautiful." "The will isn't finalized," I said. "We haven't signed the prenup yet. Details." Victoria waved her hand dismissively. "Your lawyer, Mr. Brennan, is very accommodating when properly motivated. The documents are already filed. You signed them last week when you thought you were signing hospital admission forms. You were running such a high fever, you barely looked." She was right. I remembered signing papers, Victoria's voice soothing, telling me it was just formalities. Riley's voice cut through my shock. "Security is on the way. So are the police." Victoria stood up smoothly, collecting her purse. "Good luck proving any of this. It will be your word against mine." A sick man, delirious with fever, making wild accusations against his loving fiancée. "The syringe," Riley said, holding it up. "This is evidence of a pharmacy error," Victoria countered, which I helpfully caught. "In fact, you should be thanking me, darling." She leaned down and kissed my forehead. I jerked away, but I was too weak. "Besides, even if you survive this, you'll never prove anything. Dr. Hammond will say he ordered the dosage change. The pharmacy will blame computer errors. Your lawyer will confirm the documents are legitimate, because they are. I've been very, very careful." She started toward the door. Riley moved to block her path. "You're not leaving." Victoria looked at Riley with contempt. "You're a nurse who makes $35,000 a year. I'm Victoria Ashford. My father is Senator Ashford. My family founded this city. Who do you think they'll believe?" I watched Riley's face. She was scared. I could see it in the slight tremor of her jaw. But she didn't move. "I don't care who your father is," Riley said quietly. "You tried to murder someone. That medication would have killed him." The door burst open before Victoria could respond. 2 security guards rushed in, followed by Dr. Peters, the head of the hospital. "What's going on here?" Dr. Peters demanded. Victoria's demeanor changed instantly. Her eyes filled with tears. Her voice shook. "Thank God you're here. This nurse has been making the most horrible accusations. I think she may have tampered with Marcus's medication. I caught her with the wrong syringe. I tried to sit up, to speak, but a coughing fit seized me. Blood splattered across the white sheets." Riley stepped forward. "Dr. Peters, I can explain everything. Ms. Ashford brought medication that wasn't prescribed. When I questioned it, she claimed Dr. Hammond had changed the orders, but he's in Boston at a conference. The pharmacy confirmed no change was made. Dr. Peters looked at the syringe in Riley's hand. "Let me see that." Victoria's tears increased. "She's lying. Marcus, tell them. This nurse is clearly unstable." Dr. Peters examined the syringe, then checked my chart on his tablet. His face went pale. "This dosage would have caused massive internal bleeding," he said slowly. Riley nodded. "Exactly. That's why I called pharmacy to verify. That's why I called security." Dr. Peters turned to Victoria. "Who gave you this medication?" "I found it on the tray when I arrived," Victoria said smoothly. "I assumed it was correct. I'm not a medical professional. She was good. I had to give her that." Even knowing she was lying, she sounded completely convincing. Dr. Peters looked between Riley and Victoria, clearly torn. "We need to investigate this thoroughly. Security, please ask Ms. Ashford and Nurse Carter to wait in separate rooms while we review the security footage and pharmacy records." "Absolutely," Victoria said. "I want to get to the bottom of this as much as anyone." "Poor Marcus must be terrified." She touched my hand. I yanked it away with what little strength I had. They escorted Victoria out first. Riley started to follow, but I grabbed her wrist. "Thank you," I managed to whisper. "You saved my life." Riley squeezed my hand gently. "Rest now. The truth will come out." But I wasn't sure it would. Victoria was right about one thing. She had power, connections, and money. Riley had none of those things. After they left, a different nurse came in to give me the correct medication. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing despite my body's exhaustion. I'd built my empire on reading people, on seeing opportunities others missed. How had I missed Victoria completely? The answer was simple and humiliating. I'd wanted to believe her. I'd wanted to believe someone from her world could want someone from mine. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I couldn't reach it, but I could see the screen. 3 missed calls from my lawyer, Brennan. 2 from my accountant. And 1 text from a number I didn't recognize. The text read, "You should have died quietly, Marcus." Now this gets messy. I tried to call for help, but my voice came out as a wheeze. The nurse had left. I was alone with that message glowing on my screen. Fear settled into my bones, colder than any fever. Victoria wasn't done. An hour passed. Maybe 2. I drifted in and out of consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, someone was standing by my bed. Not Victoria. A man in a dark suit, unfamiliar. "Mr. DeLuca," he said quietly. "My name is Agent Holloway, FBI." I must have looked confused because he pulled out his badge. "We've been investigating Victoria Ashford for 8 months now. She's wanted in connection with 3 suspicious deaths. Wealthy men. All died shortly after getting engaged to her. We've been waiting for her to make a mistake." "The syringe," I croaked. Agent Holloway nodded. "Your nurse, Riley Carter, called 911 before calling hospital security. Smart woman. The police contacted us immediately when they heard the Ashford name." "Where is she?" I asked. "In custody. We arrested her in the parking garage. She was attempting to leave the state." Relief flooded through me, but it was short-lived. "The will. The paperwork. Your lawyer, Brennan, is also in custody," Agent Holloway said. "He was part of a larger operation. Victoria would seduce wealthy men, get engaged, have Brennan forge documents, then arrange accidents. They've made over $1 billion in the last 5 years. $1 billion. I was just another mark in a long line." "The other men," I said. "The 3 who died. Who were they?" Agent Holloway pulled out a folder. "Thomas Wright, tech entrepreneur. Died of an allergic reaction to medication 6 months after his engagement. Harrison Cole, real estate developer. Cardiac arrest 3 months after his engagement. And James Fitzgerald, hedge fund manager. Stroke 2 months after his engagement. All very wealthy. All died with Victoria Ashford as their fiancée and beneficiary." I thought about how close I'd come to being number 4. "How did you know about me?" "We didn't," Agent Holloway admitted. "We were watching her, but she's careful. We had suspicions, but no proof. Then tonight, Riley Carter made a 911 call about attempted murder. That gave us probable cause to move in." "Riley," I said. "Is she okay?" "She's giving her statement now," She'd probably get a commendation. If she'd given you that medication without checking, you'd be dead, and we'd have no case. The irony wasn't lost on me. The nurse who'd looked the most uncertain, the most out of place in my expensive hospital room, had been the only one paying attention. "I need to see her," I said. "You need to rest," Agent Holloway replied. "But I'll make sure she knows you're asking for her." After he left, I lay in the dark, processing everything. Victoria wasn't who she'd claimed to be. Her father wasn't really Senator Ashford. That was another lie, another layer of deception. The real Victoria Ashford had died in a car accident 5 years ago in California. The woman I'd known had stolen her identity, just like she'd stolen 3 lives and almost taken mine. Over the next 3 days, the story exploded across the news. Black Widow killer caught. FBI arrests serial murder suspect. My face was plastered across every channel. The latest target who'd survived. The media camped outside the hospital. My phone never stopped ringing. Business associates, concerned friends, reporters offering money for exclusive interviews. I ignored them all. I kept thinking about Riley, the way she'd stood her ground against Victoria. The way her hands had shaken, but her voice had stayed steady. On the 4th day, I was finally strong enough to sit up without coughing blood. Dr. Peters came by 4 rounds. "You're improving," he said, checking my vitals. "The antibiotics are working. Another week, and you should be able to go home." "Riley Carter," I said. "Is she working today?" Dr. Peters hesitated. "She's been placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. Hospital policy when staff is involved in a police matter." "She saved my life," I said. "She should be getting a medal, not a suspension." "I agree," Dr. Peters said quietly. "But the board is concerned about liability. If the media finds out our nurse was involved in catching a serial killer, it opens questions about our security, our protocols." "Your protocols almost killed me," I pointed out. "A fraudulent doctor, forged orders, contaminated medication. Riley is the only one who did her job correctly," Dr. Peters sighed. "I know, I'm pushing back against the board. But these things take time. I'd almost run out of it. I picked up my phone and called my head of security, Kyle. "I need you to find someone for me," I said. "Riley Carter. She's a nurse here. I need her address, her background, everything." "Boss, you sure that's a good idea?" Kyle asked. "You just got out of a relationship with someone who tried to kill you." "This isn't about a relationship," I said, though I wasn't entirely sure that was true. "I need to thank her properly. And I need to make sure she's okay." Kyle called back within the hour. "Riley Carter, age 32, single. Works at Memorial Hospital, has for 8 years. Night shift, mostly. Lives in a small apartment in West Side. No criminal record. Credit score is decent, but she's got significant debt." "What kind of debt?" I asked. "Student loans from nursing school. Medical bills for her younger brother, Andrew. He has cystic fibrosis. Looks like she's been paying for his treatments for the last 5 years since their parents died in a car accident. She's basically raising him alone." My chest tightened. Riley had saved my life while carrying all that weight on her own shoulders. The phone bill she was probably worried about, the rent she was scrambling to pay, and she'd risked it all to stand up to Victoria. "Send me her address," I said. "And Kyle, find out what Andrew needs. The best doctors, the best treatment. Money is no object." Kyle was quiet for a moment. "Boss, you don't owe her this much." "Yes," I said. "I do." A week later, I was discharged from the hospital. Against my doctor's advice, my first stop wasn't home. I had Kyle drive me to Riley's apartment building. It was in a neighborhood I knew well. I'd grown up 3 blocks from here before I made my money. The building needed paint. The security gate was broken. I climbed 3 flights of stairs, my lungs protesting with every step. "Apartment 3C. I knocked. The door opened a crack, the chain still attached. Riley peered out, her eyes widening when she saw me. "Mr. DeLuca, what are you doing here? You should be resting." "I needed to see you," I said. "To thank you properly." She closed the door, unhooked the chain, then opened it wider. "You didn't have to come here." A phone call would have been fine, but she stepped aside to let me in. The apartment was tiny but spotlessly clean. A second-hand couch, a small TV, medical textbooks stacked on a coffee table. "I'm sorry about the mess," Riley said, though there was no mess. I wasn't expecting company. A teenage boy emerged from the back room, thin and pale, carrying an oxygen tank. "Riley, who's at the E?" He stopped when he saw me. "You're the guy from the news. The one my sister saved." "Andrew," Riley said quickly. "This is Mr. DeLuca." "Mr. DeLuca, my brother Andrew." I shook Andrew's hand gently. He had Riley's eyes, but his grip was weak. "Your sister is a hero," I told him. Andrew grinned. "She won't admit it. She keeps saying she just did her job." "It was more than that," I said. Looking at Riley, she was blushing, uncomfortable with the attention. "Can I talk to you privately?" I asked her. Riley nodded and led me to the small kitchen. Through the window, I could see laundry hanging on lines between buildings. The view I remembered from my childhood. "I know about Andrew's condition," I said quietly. "And the medical bills." Riley's face hardened. "I don't need your pity or your charity, Mr. DeLuca." "It's not charity," I said. "It's a debt. You saved my life. Riley, let me help save your brother's." "I'm managing just fine," she said, but her voice cracked slightly. "Are you?" I asked gently. "Because Kyle told me you picked up double shifts last month to cover a shortfall. You're working yourself to exhaustion." "Kyle?" She looked confused. "My head of security. He does thorough background checks." Riley's expression shifted to anger. "You investigated me. After I saved your life, you had someone dig into my private business. I needed to know how to help you," I said. "That's not helping. That's invading my privacy." Her voice rose. "I'm not one of your business deals, Mr. DeLuca. You can't just buy your way into my life because you feel grateful." She was right, and I knew it. I'd handled this all wrong. "I'm sorry," I said. "You're absolutely right." I overstepped. Riley took a deep breath, calming herself. "Why are you really here?" "Because you're the only person in my life who acted without an agenda," I said honestly. "You didn't know who I was or what I was worth. You just saw someone in danger, and you helped. Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world?" She studied my face for a long moment. "Your world almost killed you. Maybe you need a different world." "Maybe I do," I said. We stood there in her cramped kitchen, and for the first time in years, I felt like someone was actually seeing me. Not my bank account, not my connections, not what I could do for them. Just me. "The hospital put me on leave," Riley said finally. "They're saying it's temporary, but I think they're going to let me go. Too much publicity, too much liability. They'd rather I disappear quietly than work for me," I said. The words came out before I'd fully thought them through. "What?" Riley laughed. "Work for you doing what?" "I'm a nurse, not a business executive. I need a private nurse during my recovery," I said, the plan forming as I spoke. "Someone I can trust. Someone who actually cares whether I live or die. The salary would be enough to cover Andrew's medical bills, and then some." Riley crossed her arms. "That sounds a lot like charity dressed up as a job." "It's not," I insisted. "I genuinely need help. The pneumonia damaged my lungs. I need monitoring, medication management, physical therapy. And after Victoria, I don't trust anyone the hospital would send." She was considering it. I could see the war on her face between pride and practicality. "Full medical benefits for both of us," she said finally. "And Andrew gets access to the best pulmonologist in the state." "Done," I said immediately. "And you stay out of my personal life. No more background checks, no more investigating." "Agreed." Riley extended her hand. 3-month trial. If it doesn't work out, I walk away with no hard feelings. I shook her hand, and something electric passed between us. From the other room, Andrew called out, "Riley, did you just agree to work for a billionaire?" "Temporarily," Riley called back. She looked at me. "When do I start?" "Tomorrow," I said. "I'll send a car for you at 9. Over the next month, Riley came to my house every day. She monitored my vitals, administered treatments, and slowly, I got stronger. But something else was growing too. I found myself looking forward to her arrival. The way she'd argue with me about overworking. The way she'd laugh at my terrible jokes. The way she treated me like a regular person, not Marcus DeLuca, the billionaire. One evening, she was helping me with breathing exercises on the terrace overlooking Biscayne Bay. "You're improving," she said. "Your lung capacity is almost back to normal, thanks to you," I said. "Thanks to modern medicine and your stubborn refusal to stay in bed when you should be resting," she corrected. I watched the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Victoria's trial starts next week, I said. I know. I have to testify. Riley's voice was quiet. Are you nervous? Terrified, she admitted. I've never been in court before. You'll be amazing, I said. Just tell the truth. That's all you've ever done. She looked at me then, really looked at me. You're different than I thought you'd be. That first night in the hospital, I thought you were just another rich guy who thought money made him invincible. It almost did make me dead, I said. But not invincible. You taught me that. The trial came and went. Victoria was convicted on all counts. Life in prison without parole. Brennan got 20 years. The news eventually moved on to other stories. Riley stayed, not just as my nurse, but as something more. We were careful, slow. Both of us had been burned before. But 6 months after that first night in the hospital, I asked her to dinner. Not as her employer, but as a man who'd fallen in love with the woman who'd saved his life in every way possible. She said yes. Andrew's condition improved with better treatment. Riley moved into the guest house on my property, not the main house. She insisted on her own space, her own independence. I loved her more for it. We're taking it slow, building something real. Something based on trust, not deception. And every night, I thank whatever twist of fate brought Riley Carter to my hospital room at exactly the right moment. The nurse who gave me the wrong medication by refusing to give me the poisoned one. The woman who saw what everyone else missed. The hero nobody expected. My future.